رحنا لأكبر تجمع للغات في العالم وقعدنا مع ناس بقالهم سنين بيتعلموا لغات. بس اللي يشد أكتر من عدد اللغات اللي بيتكلموه هو المستوى العالي اللي بيوصلوا له في اللغات اللي بيتعلموها. منهم اللي بيدربوا ناس من كل أنحاء العالم واللي بيعملوا محتوى عن اللغات بقالهم سنين. في الفيديو اللي فات حكولنا نصايحهم، وهنا سألناهم 3 أسئلة. أولهم: هل شخصيتك بتتغير لما تتكلم لغة تانية؟
في الحقيقة بفكر إني نفس الشخص بكل لغة اللي بتكلم. أنا عندي words that I don't have in other languages, in every language. I think I'm more descriptive in English because it's my mother tongue. Pero cada idioma tiene un contexto diferente. Cuando hablo español, me recuerda de todos los momentos de mi vida, todos los capítulos, cuando hablaba español, sea cuando estudiaba en España, sea cuando estuve viviendo en no sé qué. Pues cada idioma tiene su propio contexto. Et pour ça, peut-être que ça me change un petit peu, ça change ma personnalité. Mais en même temps, je suis la même personne. C'est juste, j'ai peut-être plus de vocabulaire dans certaines langues et dans les autres, je dois être peut-être créative avec les mots que je connais. Par exemple, en arabe, j'ai un vocabulaire un peu plus limité. Mais je trouve que ich kann mich ausdrücken und es kommt immer darauf an vom Kontext. Ich bin derselbe Mensch.
I don't know if I have different personalities. I think different aspects of my personality are kind of unlocked through different languages. For example, I feel more confident speaking Spanish. I don't know why that would be. And I feel more serious speaking German. And I feel more romantic speaking French, for example. I would say yes.
I don't think I have different personalities. I think I have a slightly different voice because voices change depending on the phonology of the language you speak. I would say depending on how well you speak a language, you get to express your true identity better or worse. So 100% of what I can say in Spanish, which is my native language, can be pretty much 95% of what I can express in English, and maybe an 85 to 90% in Russian, probably, which are my strongest languages. And in that regard, I would say your personality, it is not that it's it changes, it's just that you adapt it to the things you can say, and also you adapt it to the people you surround yourself with. So as a whole, not really, but a little bit.
I don't think I have different personalities, but I do think I show different sides of my personality. I see language learning, like I see every human being like a rainbow, right? So there's a rainbow, you can see the light that is white for us, but then if you go deeper inside, you can actually see there's 7 colors. So by learning multiple languages, you can discover the different 7 or more colors of your personality. So it's just expressing a different side of my personality for every language I speak.
إزاي بتحافظ على مستواك في كذا لغة في نفس الوقت؟
I always use the metaphor of the family, or the family metaphor. When you learn multiple languages, your family is getting bigger. You get a new member every single day, right? So when a newborn comes and joins the family, you also have to think about the brothers and sisters who are running in the family, right? And the way I do it is I divide basically languages, my languages, the languages I speak, into 2 categories. Languages I already have under my belt, meaning I can use them every day and I speak them fluently, at least at B2 level. And then I have the new languages. In this case, to give you a very concrete example, those are Turkish and Japanese. These are languages that require me to sit down and focus because I still don't speak them well. But many other languages, for example, 10 other languages, I integrate them into my life. So in order for me to learn new languages, I have to first set up a time when I sit down and I learn these languages, 30 minutes each, 30 minutes for Turkish, 30 minutes for Japanese in the morning when I'm fresh. In order to maintain languages, I have integrated into my life with a very simple trick. I associate every language with a place, an activity, and a time. So if I go to the kitchen and I prepare food for lunch, I'm watching, for example, or listening, better said, to France 24, which is a news channel in French, or a Russian channel. A dinner, for example, I watch, if I'm not with my friends or my flatmates, I watch something in Polish. And if I'm with my flatmates, I speak Swedish, French, or Greek, depending on the day. So when I read in bed, for example, before going to sleep, I read in other languages. So every place in my apartment and every time has, in the bathroom, I read German. Sorry, German, but magazines in German. So every place has, every place, every time, every activity has a moment with a different language. Then I go out and I talk to my friends. So I've integrated all these languages in my life and I get to use, let's say, 7 to 10 of the languages I have under my belt on a weekly basis, which allows me to also learn foreign languages. So it's a combination of learning and maintaining. It's tough, but you know, it's fun.
I don't know if I'm actually maintaining the languages that I do speak, so I'm not sure if I'm qualified to respond to this. I'm trying to do so more now, which is one of the main reasons I came to this polyglot gathering, because I hadn't practiced some languages that I learned ages ago and I wanted to refresh them a little bit. I think from now on, what I'm going to try to do to maintain the languages is to just converse with native speakers, or not even native speakers, just converse with people that do speak that language. Stay interested in the culture, stay interested in things that are going on in that language, and yeah.
Well, to be honest, I think they kind of come and go. I wish I could just spend all the time in the world practicing and maintaining different languages, but unfortunately there are other things in life that one must do. Although, fortunately, there are many other great things to do in life. But I would say I consume media in all the different languages I speak. I think you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to music, you can watch movies, watch series, do something so that you have continuous contact with those languages in order to not forget them. And I think it's enough to keep it there. And then, of course, practicing with people when you can. I don't practice Arabic that much these days, but every once in a while, when I meet someone who speaks it, I always try to use it. And then there's other languages that I speak more often, like I speak Spanish almost every day. I speak German pretty often because of the German-speaking people in my life. But other ones like Brazilian Portuguese or, I don't know, Italian, I don't use as often. However, I think it's impossible to really completely learn it. It's kind of like riding a bike or something. You can't completely forget how to do it. And as long as you just listen to it and watch a little bit and have a bit of contact with it on a regular basis, that you maintain enough of a base so that when you do have to speak it, then you can jump right back into it.
The main thing for me is practicing while teaching. So I teach pretty much all the languages I speak, and that helps me a lot. But for the average person, I would say it is way better to concentrate on having friends or having meaningful interactions, or I don't know, having contact to the language in any sort of way. I can say, for example, what I do for each of these languages outside of teaching. So I don't know, Spanish is my native language. I talk to my family. English is a language I use a lot in my job, so it's quite easy to keep the contact. Russian, I listen to Russian music every single day of my life, pretty much. In German, I have friends that speak German, so even though if I don't speak it that much, I do get to use the language often enough for me not to forget it in the long run. Plus, my level is already very solid. Same with Portuguese. I have Portuguese friends that I go visit. I live close to Portuguese-speaking countries most of the year because I'm traveling around a lot. When it comes to the other languages, though, for example, the ones I have at B and not at C, it's just because of that, because I haven't had enough practice steadily enough. So maintaining a language once you have more than 4 or 5 and you want to reach a difficult, like a good level, is a very complicated challenge. So you need to tailor your schedule specifically to attain that goal. Otherwise, you're going to progress more slowly, which I don't mind having Polish at B and not at C, you know, but you have to be aware of that. It's just things take time. Don't try to go super fast. I've been learning Turkish for 6 months. I can communicate more or less. I'm fine with that. I've been to Turkey. I can talk to the people. That's good. I'll keep progressing and I'll speak better. But you have to be aware that adding a difficult language like Turkish, for me as a Spanish speaker, is going to be a sort of a challenge. So don't stress yourselves. Just try to tailor it, but don't forget to take care of your babies.
اكتشفت امتى انك بتحب تتعلم لغات؟
لما كان عندي 20 سنة أنا رحت في أسبان عشان أعمل el semestre al extranjero en la Universidad de Salamanca. Y eso fue la primera vez que aprendí otro idioma, que aprendí a vivir en otra cultura. y que vivía al extranjero. Et j'ai trouvé ça extrêmement amusant et je me suis tombé amoureux des langues étrangères. Et pour moi, c'était le début. Und danach habe ich die anderen Sprachen gelernt, eine Sprache pro Jahr mehr oder weniger. Aber ja, bis 20 Jahren wusste ich nicht. Ich war in die USA, ich bin in die USA groß geworden und ich habe Englisch in meiner Kindheit gesprochen. Also ja, es war etwas, das ich gefunden habe, als ich 20 Jahren alt war.
I discovered that I like learning languages in one specific moment, back in when I was 11, when my aunt gave me a book, which is called The Hardy Boys in English, and then in there I discovered that I had this yearning for foreign languages. But I think it's a process. My grandmother planted the seed when I was relatively young, 8 or 9, and she said, if you learn foreign languages, if you learn mathematics, if you get into liking to learn things, it's going to change your life, and it did.
When I learned the first language myself, because I had been learning at school for many years, different languages that I now speak much better and that I've spent a lot of time learning. But the moment I realized that I can do something that is fun to me, that makes me have a sort of, challenge when it comes to logically thinking and trying to solve a puzzle, that's where I thought, okay, this is interesting. And the moment that I not only did that, but started speaking to people, it started to be even more interesting. So having the pleasure of talking to multiple people from multiple countries is already a reason itself to learn any language in the world.
I discovered it through being able to speak to people who didn't speak my native language, being able to have a conversation and connect. And I realized that I wanted to continue doing so and continue connecting to even more people by learning their native tongue.
لو حابين تشوفوا انترفيوز لمتعددين لغات بيتكلموا عربي دوسوا على الفيديو ده، ولو حابين محتوى أكتر من النوع ده ما تنسوش تعملوا سبسكرايب.